Okay, so you guys are recording. And then let's go small and presenter mode. Okay, perfect. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to get my questions and then I'm going to introduce myself. Hi, everyone. This is Cricket Barrientos with Sex Trafficking is Real. And today we're going to talk about sex trafficking in the autism population. I have my two guests, Rebecca and Keelin, both girls in Chicago right now, right? Rebecca, you're in Chicago till you're done with school, and then you're going to go to Nevada. Is that correct?
I'm currently in Nevada and done with school.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Rebecca, go ahead and take a minute here and introduce yourself and the agency that you work for, so that everybody knows who they're listening to.
Okay, hi, my name is Rebecca. I currently work for a law firm out here in Nevada. We're a private law firm, but we are starting a law and advocacy center for survivors of sex trafficking here in Nevada called the Rebecca Charleston Legal Aid and Advocacy Center. We are very excited to start launching that in January, but we're continually doing the work before it started. So I am pending my bar admission in Nevada. And so I am doing legal work for survivors and victims of sex trafficking in and around Nevada.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad to have you on the show. I think you're going to be a wealth of knowledge and you'll be able to support families that are raising, especially, I mean, any child or any adult, but really the special ed or the special need adults are super, important just because of their delay in processing and their vulnerabilities and all those things that kind of come along with their special needs. And so being able to share this with families that are watching, it'll be a great way for them to start learning about all the different things that happen to prepare a child for being sex trafficked and how we can, keep families from having to go through this. And then I also have Keelin, who is in Chicago. And Keelin, can you share a little bit about who you are and who you work with?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Keelin, and I volunteer with this organization within the city called Reclaim 13. So we work with victims who or survivors who have been rescued out of trafficking. We have them in safe homes where we try to catch them up on school and just prepare them to get back into the real life, help them through their social, emotional, everything like that. So I'm specifically on the education team. So I help bring forth new research, new finding, just new information towards the other members of the team every month. And then with that, I'm also on the community speakers team. So we'll take that information and we'll go out and we'll talk to churches, other organizations, police, etc., about what we've discovered, what like the newest trend is within the sex trafficking realm or anything along those lines. And then along with that, Rebecca and myself do run a blog where we do write about anything that is under the scope of sexual exploitation.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys have done a lot with this already, and we're just getting started with Sounds of Autism. But the reason that I felt that sex trafficking within the autism population was important, just talking about it and bringing awareness to it, was that a few years back there was a little girl I call her a little girl because many of these kids with an intellectual disability may be 15, 16 years old, but their cognitive ability is of an 8 or a 9-year-old. So this girl was lured out of her home in Glendale, Arizona, and at 3:30 in the morning, she was able to climb a 6-foot fence, piling chairs in the back of the yard, and got over the fence and wrote mom and dad a note that said, basically, I'm running away, but I'll be back, I promise. And took her, I believe her iPad and her phone, no chargers, and nowhere to be found. And I mean, this has been years now. And then just recently in Scottsdale, Arizona, we have a young adult, 20 years old, but with the cognitive ability of an 8-year-old, and as well was lured out of his home, we believe, on online gaming, the same thing. And his name is Juby, and he has been missing now for over maybe 2 weeks now. And mom and dad are, pleading, please bring my child back, or please, show me where this child is, or what had happened. And again, very similar but different situations, but again, bringing his technology with him, and no charging cords, and just not being found, and nobody knows where he's at. They just disappear. Like, it's like they're gone and nobody knows where they're at. So I'm glad you both shared where you work. The question that I would like to ask today from both of you, and if you could just give a little bit of experience from what you've heard and the stories that you continuously hear, is what is one of the most common things that you hear about sex trafficking, like the beginning stages of it, the point where people are starting to be groomed? Like, what is the number one thing that you hear about the first steps of this process? And we'll start with you, Rebecca.
Okay, so yeah, I was going to definitely mention grooming. It can start as young as soon as a child has access to the internet. Any child can be groomed by any adult, or even older children in their lives. They can be groomed from family members, aunts, uncles, fathers, mothers, whoever it is, neighbors. And so it's really important to watch out for who your child is interacting with, even if it's a trusted person. Because I can't tell you how many times we've heard that this child was groomed by a family member and they had no idea. The parents had no idea. And so that's first and foremost, grooming. And then another thing that I think is just so often, especially with just with children in general, it's, this need, especially when you are, in middle school and you're young and like you're trying to fit in, it's self-esteem. And so really what they do is these predators, they get online and they prey on your self-esteem. They tell you what you want to hear. And then they induce you to do things that you would never do. Now you're embarrassed. Now they have you hooked. And now they could manipulate you in any way you could. And so what I really see is self-esteem being a huge issue, because it puts a child at a higher vulnerability than a child with a higher self-esteem, because manipulators are manipulators and they are going to manipulate that child's self-esteem into doing whatever they want.
Perfect. Thank you. And I was just reading a little bit about grooming, and it says that basically the idea of grooming, or the word grooming, means that they're working with this child to build trust. And once they get that trust, then they start sharing with that person, like, the different things that that person's going to be doing, to start like putting it in their minds to process that information. And then when they actually go about doing it, where they're now going into the steps of trafficking, that they go from this like really nice, trustworthy person to, it's become isolated, and it's very a very dark place, and could be very abusive, and physically and mentally, it's just not a good place. Nobody wants their child there. So sharing this information really helps families understand that, like you said, once they can get online, that's a big part. And it doesn't just have to be online, right, Rebecca? Like, it could be online. That's a main point that people are going to, because they know so many kids are going there. But it could be, like you said, with a family member, it could be from day one of their life that this can start.
Exactly. It could be in person or online. A lot of times when we see children getting lured out of their house from online, it's, they meet them through Snapchat, through Instagram, through gaming.
Wow. Oh, so crazy. Okay. And then Keelin, just to kind of piggyback on that, what Rebecca said, can you tell us a little bit about what you're hearing is the common theme? Because when we're talking about sex trafficking, we're not just talking about kids being sex trafficked and groomed. We're talking about prostitution. We're talking about anything that has to do with like a sexual connotation of somebody else basically soliciting this person, whether it's for sex with an adult, a kid, whatever it may be, right? So it could be anybody that's basically being used to do sexual acts on somebody else. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. And through my organization that I volunteer with, it's a lot of family members, close friends. So it's a little less of the internet side. It's more of like their like original like ecosystem of people around them. So their neighbors, their family members, their mom's boyfriends. That's huge. That is probably more common than the uncle being the trafficker is mom's boyfriend. So mom's probably being abused by the boyfriend, and then the boyfriend is also going to pimp out the daughters in the family, or even the sons. More than likely the daughters, though.
And are you guys hearing that that this is because they're repeating something that happened to them, these people that are abusing or trafficking? Is this something that happened to them, or is this a business? Like, people are going out and finding people to hire to become the pimps or become the traffickers. Like, how does that all work?
It's a culture, it's a cycle, and it 100% is a business. It is, you follow the money, and you know, when you sell drugs, you can only sell that drug once, and you get a one-time return on it. When you sell a person, you can sell that girl 20, 30 times a day and get that investment 30 times as much as you would a drug. And so it is 100% a business. And something that we always tell people with See the Revival, which is our personal online platform, is that really pornography and sex trafficking, they go hand in hand. They filter one another. And pornography is a huge grooming tool as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing that a lot of the kid cartoons are starting to convert over. Like, if kids are going on YouTube and they're looking at a cartoon, if you're not paying attention as a parent, I remember my son was watching SpongeBob, but it was SpongeBob hemp pants. So it was SpongeBob smoking marijuana. And we didn't know. And Landon was like 5, 6 years old, and he was laughing. And I walked over to see what he's laughing about. And SpongeBob wasn't yellow anymore, he was green. And I said, "What are you watching?" And he goes, "It's so funny, Mom. It's SpongeBob hemp pants." And he just thought it was so funny that this was happening. And again, he's a child with an intellectual disability. He struggles with understanding and processing information. And if somebody saw that Landon was looking at this and knowing that he's at age that he's at, it would be very easy for him to be lured. We talk to Landon about this stuff, and he's 19 now. We talk to him every day about this type of stuff. When he's online, I always tell him, if there's anybody that's on there asking you to have sex or telling you that they think you're, they want to marry you or anything like that, like, always tell Mom, I'm not going to be mad at you. I just want to be able to help guide you to make the right decisions, because you never know who's on the other side. Well, then as soon as I say those things, he always tells me, Mom, I have to tell you something. And he starts telling me things that he would have never told me if we didn't have those conversations. So I know that because we have those conversations, that we're not 100% clear, because, they have the power to influence these kids. But I believe that because we started that dialogue, that it would be a lot less likely for Landon to do that without sharing it with somebody and asking their opinion about it before he leaves home. Because I tell him all the time, if you leave and stranger danger's on the other side of that, you're never coming home. And he doesn't want it. He doesn't want anybody to hurt him. So we talk a lot about that type of stuff. So I guess the last question, ladies, and then I'll let us go, and we'll come back to this on our next show. But there's definitely this was more of a talk, like we talk, and then we always give tips as well. Is I would love for you, as somebody that has worked around this, and you hear all the horrible stories and the things that are happening, what would be one tip that you would offer a family or somebody that might be groomed or something like that? Like, what is one thing that, oh my gosh, if I was a mom or if I had a friend with, kids, this is the one thing that I would tell them to keep their family safe? Rebecca?
So in my house, when I was growing up, my parents would always say there's no such thing as privacy. They always had access to my cell phone, to all my social medias, and they had all my passwords. They used it. They looked through my messages. They looked at my social media. And at the time when I was 16, of course I hated it. But I will say, as an adult now working in sex trafficking, if more parents did that, they would be able to catch their children being groomed much, much earlier. So that's one of my advice, is that you check your children's social medias. You check your children's messages. You see what's going on. You're very present and you have an open conversation with them.
Very nice. Good. And Keelin, what about you?
I would say have blockers on your children's stuff, especially if they're young and they don't need to research for school. There should be blockers on that computer at all times. I know we have a whole list. I think one of them is called Bark or something that you can implant into your computer where it just won't let them do certain research words, or they can only do a couple clicks. I would say that is extremely important because it only takes a couple clicks for a kid to end up on a porn site too. Like, it's not that hard. They might be looking up like butts because they think it's funny, and then all of a sudden they're on Pornhub watching something crazy. And then also with that is, don't let your kids have social media until it's like the absolute pushing point. Like, there's no reason a child who can barely spell words in the English dictionary should have social media. There's no reason. They're on there looking at inappropriate things, acting older, seeing how these older kids are dancing on TikTok. It's not appropriate. And then they're remaking it, doing it themselves, all for these creeps to scroll and just look at this all day long. There's no reason for that at all. And I had one more thing, and now I forgot what I was going to say.
It's okay.
Okay.
This is good. And if you think of it, Keelin, just interrupt me, but
Okay.
this tips and talks is so important to me. I feel like this little girl in Glendale, Arizona, and this boy in Scottsdale, that mom and dad were not bad people and they didn't not pay attention. I just think that sometimes we believe, if we put the parental controls on there, that's going to be enough to protect our children, but not realizing that some of these people may work for the companies that we have on our computer system, and they're able to break through everything because they work for those companies and they know how to do all that type of stuff. So we definitely have to pay attention to have these conversations. I remember back in the day when I was growing up that my mom and dad would always talk about stranger danger, and we always practice those skills. And nowadays, parents are both working and they're not always home, and they don't understand the power of social media and online games. They just don't. So I really feel like we just have to send the message out there and get more people to watch and pay attention, and help other parents that you surround yourself with. If you know that their child is online and they're not protected the way you would protect your own child, don't be uncomfortable telling your neighbors and your friends and your family that maybe they should put a few more protections on their computer systems to protect their children, because you guys have seen the end result of people that have been trafficked. And I guarantee, like you said, you have to teach them how to relive life and integrate back into society. That is not a good thing. So thank you, ladies, both for spending time with me on Sex Trafficking is Real, recognizing the signs of kids on the spectrum, talks and tips. And I will see you girls the next time.
Right.
Thank you. And if
Thank you so
anybody
much.
wants to look at our website, it's www.cseetherevival.blog, and that is actually where we do a lot of these same conversations on our website, and we also do go around to schools and churches and do the same talks.
That's awesome. And ladies, we'll be housing this on our YouTube channel, Sounds of Autism in quotes. And once we have that, we can link it up to our website so that they'll be able to click on there. And then if you guys have something that you would like to direct people to, we can add that link as well. So we'll be able to help get this information out and get people, foot traffic to your website to help get you what you need. And thank you girls for everything you do. I think it's, huge that you're doing this. So thanks for being a part of it. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.